Yo, 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 yo. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the unThreaded show. Which episode is this, friends? Does
Well,
anyone
we're
know?
on 9 now, I think.
Episode 9?
Yeah,
Welcome to
I think.
episode 9. At episode 10,
I
we're
don't know.
giving away prizes sponsored by Jesse.
The prize is actually, I think episode 10 is the shirtless one, Jamar. Where I'm
Oh,
in the shirt.
yeah. Y'all
That
going
is
to see
the prize.
Jesse nipples on episode 10.
Oh my
I'm excited.
goodness.
And it's right at the cutoff line.
Whether
Right
you
at the
want to or
cutoff
not,
line.
apparently.
Okay.
The nipples are barely above the fold if you're a video
Whether you want to or
watcher.
not, apparently. Lee, how's your week going, Lee?
It's going well. Today was the first day for early voting in Missouri. So John and I went and voted. We got our did our civic duty. And gearing up we're going to Arkansas this weekend. My aunt's having her 60th wedding anniversary. So it's like a big fancy party in a family reunion. So that'll be super
Nice.
fun.
I love that. Do you want to share who you voted for?
Sure. Jill, no,
Well,
just
so-
kidding. Kamala and Jhamar.
Okay. Nice.
I'm curious,
And
did
down
you get
ballot.
the sticker? Because I feel
Yeah,
like stickers have gotten cooler now
I took
ever
it
since
off.
like
Can you give
they
me
started embracing kind of doing more
Here,
regional
John's
stickers.
just gonna come showcase his sticker.
Oh, we got
It's
the
in
we
front
got
of
the
me.
Nice.
JJ visuals.
Oh my gosh, you're supposed to get in front of the sticker.
Our original shirtless model on the show.
But yeah, they are. It has it's my light is like reflecting off of it, but it does
Nice,
have
okay.
different
Oh, yeah, yeah.
languages on it. It has Spanish, French, I'm guessing Chinese and Japanese, but I don't know. This book characters.
There was a really cool one. I think it was in the 2020 election. That it was upstate New York, I think, but some like 8-year-old drew this like kind of disturbing spider-like figure. and it was like a community vote, and everyone voted for the 8-year-old.
Always vote for the
It was like
Bodie
this
big
freaky spider.
boat face, kids drawing, always.
It's so cool. We got to link it in the comments or something, or Bo, and I'll try to dig that one up for you. But it is like the coolest one, and I'm so sad I didn't live in that county.
Hey, Jesse, how's your week?
It's good, man. I posted a thread about this, but the really fun thing about like Twitch culture for these kids is that now my son is asking me to play video games. So it's honestly my altruistic duty as a father to play these games for him. And he's gotten into Zelda, which is like my favorite series. So we replayed Ocarina of Time. That was like the thread was all about that. I won't recount it in detail, but we beat that one. So we moved on to the Wind Waker, and I hadn't
The
played
what?
that game. And it's called Wind Waker.
Wigger?
Wind Waker.
Wind Wigger? What?
Wind Waker, like you have awakened the wind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that would be quite a left turn for
Literally a
Zelda
modern
that I wasn't
term in
expecting.
probably
Yeah,
20, 30 years.
Brad Paisley on the soundtrack. But no, so I hadn't played that game in 20 years, and I remembered Ocarina of Time from N64 because that was like always my favorite game. But Wind Waker is like, it's amazing, man. And I hadn't dusted off the GameCube in at least 15 years, so it's fun to revisit those classics.
Are you going to teach him how to like talk trash once you start playing online and stuff, or you going to let him figure
Dude,
that out?
he is
on his own?
already, and I'm consider myself a pretty good trash talker. He's already like in a league above me.
Oh,
You know,
that's
because
nice.
he's got that youth, just the impetuousness of youth. He can just like fire him off. Plus, all the YouTubers that he watches, you know, are like, get wrecked, like all that kind of trash talk built into gaming culture. So he's very much up on it.
Got it. Well, that's lovely. I'm happy everyone is doing well. Lee, you ready to get into things?
Well, what about you,
No,
Jhamar? We didn't hear about your week, bro.
And you're first.
I know. I'm just asking you if you ready to get spicy. because
He's
I'm
biding
ready to
his
get
time.
spicy.
What did you have a good week before you dropped the spice on us?
Before I drop the spice, you know, man, it's just I'm out here campaigning, brother. Like, I'm really running for local office. I really don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun, you know? Like,
Hell yeah.
imagine if one of y'all ran for y'all local office. It's like, what the heck do we do? So I'm figuring this out.
Get some votes.
No doubt, man.
Yeah, get some votes.
No doubt.
So it's just, you know, just me and people going to different events, shaking hands with people, looking them in their eye, listening to them talk. Some of them are full of crap. Other people are like whatever. So I'm just learning, man. I'm just learning.
No doubt. No doubt.
But yeah, y'all ready? Y'all ready?
We're ready,
do it.
man.
Things?
This is all for the campaign. So
Hey, man, listen. The first thread is from your boy, Mr. Jhamar Youngblood himself. Well, it's not from me, but it's my turn to introduce the thread. And this thread is from an account called Geek Furious at The Real Geek Furious. And how I came across this lovely thread was first I seen a reply from Mr. Jesse. And he replied, wait, actually, let me look this up because let me see the right where he is. He said, Jesse said in this reply, I don't even know what he was replying to. He said, there's a ton of folks who accessorize New York in super conspicuous ways, usually Long Island and New Jersey, LOL. So I saw that and I went to the chat. I said, yo, bro, what's up with the Jersey diss? Like, I'm from Jersey. Like, he didn't even think of me when he wrote that. He just was like, whatever. Then he said LOL. So I'm like, cool. But then I went on Threads and I randomly see this thread from this guy, The Real Geek Furious. He says, how I explain the power of New NYC to people not from the area. Number one, New York has one NFL team. It's the Buffalo Bills. No one calls them a New York team. Number two, the two NFL teams called New York are the Giants and the Jets who play in New Jersey. And number three, New Jersey's official NFL teams are, well, they don't exist since they both called New York, despite playing in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So I chose that thread because of timing, not because of anything else. What's the word you use? You call it poetic timing last week, Jesse.
Yeah.
So this was poetic timing that I saw this, and I said, wow, this is very interesting. But then I took it a step further. I said, you know what? I need to reply to Jesse in only a way that Jesse can understand. So I wrote this handwritten cursive announcement, and I wonder if you both will allow me to read it.
Of course.
Okay, let's go.
This is like a decree. This is
you tell me what it is after.
Nail it to the door.
This is in language that only Jesse can understand.
Okay.
Leigh, you may understand it as well, but Jesse is definitely going to understand every single syllable of every word.
Precision owned because like I have a typewriter like a foot and a half to my right. So
exactly, you understand, bro. I was feeling it.
All right, man.
Ready?
Spell the cursive. Let's go.
Dear Jesse, unbeknownst to me, Minneapolis has given you a peculiar way of seeing New Jersey. Let's correct the record. It was here that Thomas Edison sparked the modern world. And let's not forget Lewis Latimer, the brilliant black inventor who drafted the patents for the incandescent bulb and brought Edison's vision to life. This is the legacy we carry, built on ingenuity and inclusion that crosses all borders and biases. Your claim that New Jersey plays a secondary role in this regional ecosystem, though imaginative, falls short of reality. New Jersey is a vital part of the culture and intellectual foundation of this country. We watch as transplants arrive in New York from distant places, full of ambition, only to direct their misplaced critiques at New York's neighbors. It must be hard for them to accept that while their home states sit on the sidelines, New Jersey thrives at the center, close to greatness, with nothing to prove. So as you reflect, know this: New Jersey does not compete with or cling to New York. We stand as equals with our history and achievements intact. The innovations of Edison, Latimer, and others are woven in what makes this region exceptional, and no casual remark can undo that. With measured sincerity, every person from New Jersey. Amen.
Man. You fit all their signatures on that one piece of paper?
Well, they didn't sign it yet. They're going to know who you are after this, and then I'm going to get you kicked out of New York and sent back to your home state. Because why did you do that? Let's explain that, bro.
No, we can unpack it. First of all, I applaud that. That was brilliant and amazing.
I just had to get it on my chest. I just had to get it on my chest.
bro, the oration was like top tier. You
I'm
were
practicing.
in the councilman
I'm
energy,
practicing.
and I thought that was remarkable. Even if it was me being excoriated, I'm cool with it. I
Oh
think
my
this is
God.
good practice. So I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Number one.
Thank you.
Number two, I feel like the thread you chose actually does make my point for me, right? Like these two teams play in New Jersey, yet they claim New York. Like that. That's kind of lending credibility to what I was saying.
Wait, so you wasn't dissing us?
No, I'm saying there are certain New Jersey folk out there, not you and not yourself, like that don't take pride in their state. That's what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of them that like to front like they're from New York. And I notice that sometimes the people who are the loudest about being like New York are from New Jersey in actuality, or from Long Island in actuality, and don't even live in the city. So all I was saying is that to me, when I hear people who are really loud about being from New York and that are really like accessorizing the notion of like, let me tell you what New York's all about, I typically find that those folks are either from Long Island or New Jersey. And I actually would support you in saying, where is their civic pride for their actual hometowns? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying New Jersey is whack. I'm saying I think it's kind of misguided to come here and be like, I represent the city. I'm going to tell you about the city, but you actually are from New Jersey. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Jhamar looks so deflated.
The Jets,
Yeah,
if
man,
the Jets,
my bad.
and
Look, Jesse,
Jets,
Jesse, forgive me, bro. Hold on.
I think the letter was brilliant.
I
think
wasted
the letter was brilliant.
1 hour of my life trying to think of that little
the letter
song.
was brilliant,
and you wasn't even dissing us. You wasn't even dissing us.
Now you can get on my side, and the letter is just directed at those folks, because why are they not claiming pride in New Jersey? You know
next,
what I'm saying?
Next.
Okay.
Leigh.
Okay.
Leigh, you want to say something? Next. That's
want to talk about this thread at all about New Jersey and New York? No.
Well, no, but I did. Okay, and then the only other thing I'd say was that my man Edison, come on, bro. Like he did Tesla dirty. He did Nikola Tesla dirty.
But he did him dirty in New Jersey, though, bro. That's all I'm trying to say.
The birthplace of like one of the most capitalistic white men ever.
I'm in New Jersey. I get it, bro.
Because you know what, and I do think we should unpack this, because I've had really pleasant times in New Jersey, and that's all I'm saying. I think there are things that are cool in New Jersey. I love the civic pride in, like, I always thought the sign is like way overblown by many degrees, but I have always kind of held a weird affection for the Trenton sign on the bridge that's like, Trenton makes the world things. Like, what? It's just like a big fuck you, world. We make it all. And I don't even really know what Trenton really makes. Like Arm and Hammer, man. Maybe baking soda.
All right, can I say this? Listen,
I don't know. I know they have a baking soda, Arm and Hammer minor league baseball team out there somewhere.
Interesting.
Listen, we generate the top 5 revenue in this country, and we take from the government. Like, the government give us the 3rd least fewest dollars. So
that's where Trenton's energy is coming from. Trenton's like
the state. So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, like, we're like the Knicks, man. It's like we keep other states afloat, bro. Our success keeps other states afloat. So I understand what everyone, you know what it is? I have trauma from people trying to throw shade at New Jersey. I took that out on Jesse wrongfully.
No,
my bad.
You're fine.
It's just those words you use. I should have looked that word up.
You don't even have to worry about it, because I've crossed the Goethals Bridge like, 16 times in my life, and I think New Jersey's probably still eating off that revenue, because that shit is expensive.
Those tolls, those add up.
Oh man, but I mean, it's crazy that those sports teams are in New Jersey, though, and part of Ellis Island is in New Jersey.
Like, there was no space to build the stadium, so they had to go across the river.
But then they're ignoring like Queens, and they're ignoring like the Yankees built in the Bronx, and like they're going to build the NYCFC stadium out here in Queens. Like, there are places you could do it in the city. And this is not a diss on Jersey, but getting to Secaucus from or getting to like MetLife Stadium is a pain in the ass. It is not fun. not from the city.
What
But
is that a result of just like vote? Like, do people get a vote on that, like taxpayer stuff when they build new stuff? That's usually how it is. So
that's a good question. I don't know how that works in terms of like the revenue sharing and whatnot for the city.
I don't know if it's revenue sharing. I think what happens is the city and the state, they come together and they're just like, we're going to give you such and such dollars to come build here.
Right.
Because the idea is that there's jobs,
Yeah.
like the jobs
but
that come
usually you
there.
get a vote on that. Usually the people get
That's
to
true.
vote if they want,
true.
like when they build a new stadium, like the city usually has to have a vote if they want that to happen. So I'm curious.
Listen, man,
Well,
I'm sure the mob controls that entire little.
Well, and
area.
NFL stadiums are like by a degree or two larger than NBA stadiums and MLB stadiums. Like,
Super
and
expensive.
Barclays is a good comp of like another good stadium that fits into the city, but I think their max capacity is under 30K, maybe even under 20K. I don't know, probably under 25K. I'm sure
Yep.
MetLife holds much more.
Hey, Bone, cut that part out about the mob. I should not be saying that.
But no,
all
okay,
right.
but no, that is a good segue, Jhamar, and I think this is a great spot for you, Leigh, as an outsider, because I want your comeback on this, Jhamar. But I'm interested of like the perception of New Jersey is interesting to me, and I'd love to hear from Leigh's perspective as somebody who's visited the area, spent time here, but maybe has a perception of New Jersey different than folks who live out here, and then Jhamar, you to kind of like parse that out for us as to whether the national perception of New Jersey is inaccurate. I think that's kind of what your letter got at
Sure.
that I really
Yeah.
like about it.
I think I have a bit of a unique perspective because I have visited New York City like probably more than anywhere else in United States. I'm pretty familiar with it. And then New Jersey, especially I know a lot of people from the East, like New England area and the East Coast. And so I know a bunch of people that actually are from New Jersey and then they end up moving to the city, or when you get out of college and you want to move to New York, but you can't afford a place, move across the river. And then, trying to get maybe some income before you can move into the city because it's so expensive.
You know who did that, Leigh? Sorry to cut you off. You know who did that? Kanye West. So
A
Kanye,
lot. I think
I thought he was going to say Thomas Edison.
probably
Yeah,
half the people
no,
who live in
Kanye
New York
West.
did that. Honestly, like that's so common.
Yeah.
And then I also I've been to New Jersey. My brother actually lives in Union. He moved to New York City. This is a different episode where he moved to Spanish Harlem. That was his first apartment.
That's where I lived.
Moved there straight out of college. I don't think he had a job yet. I think he just moved there, got a job. Has always worked in the city, but then eventually like lived in Brooklyn, lived in East Village, and then ultimately they wanted a house. They found a nice house in Union, which is right next to Newark. And it's beautiful. I've been to that house. It's a neighborhood. Like, I think New Jersey gets a bad rap. Like, you hear it always calling it the armpit of America, which is also what they call Louisiana too. But I love Louisiana. But I think generally that is probably people like, or if you do political, you think of like Chris Christie and like the bridge and like the time they like shut down the bridge. Like depends on where you're coming from. But I think it definitely was one of those places. It's kind of like a jumping off point for people who want to live in New York City. And then a lot of people do end up moving back and like to raise their family because it is you just cross the river. It's super easy to get in the city. It's more affordable than New York City. It's still quite expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I hate that Holland Tunnel, though. I'll tell you that. I don't mind going on record as like Holland Tunnel is a fucking nightmare every single time.
My brother just takes the New Jersey Transit every day. I know.
Either way, coming from Jersey back into the city or vice versa, it is never pleasant to go through the Holland Tunnel. But
Yeah.
Jhamar, I'm curious because I think that Leigh's right that I think that like Jersey gets a bad rep maybe because of like Jersey Shore or like I said, there are a lot of those folks that like I went to college on Staten Island. So I think I can always take pot shots at Staten Island because I went there, I lived there. I kind of know that what the dynamic is like there. But it always shocked me especially on Staten Island, because I went to school with so many kids from Staten Island or New Jersey or surrounding areas or whatever, and they actually didn't have an infatuation for the city. So they it's like you have a contingent of people who are like, yeah, I'm New York City, Mr. New York City, or Mrs. New York City, but you're actually from Jersey. But there's also folks who like, they don't want anything to do with Manhattan. So I remember always being like morbidly curious of these kids who grew up in Staten Island, and then I'd talk to them and they'd be like, oh, I've only been to Manhattan twice in my life. And I'm like, I went to Manhattan like 3 times this week.
No, that's just. I mean, my grandmother is from Brooklyn, so that's the only reason why I was in New York as a kid. But other than that, it was just we're New Jersey, and it was like Jersey pride. We have a lot of Jersey pride here,
Right.
and I think I mean, think of like people like you who leave your home state to come to New York. Like, imagine someone judging people from your state because of people like you.
People do all the time.
Like, that happens all the time.
Or it's even worse that like we get relegated to people being apathetic. I always like tell folks that I remember like, well, Jhamar, we talked about like me being like instigator of other fan bases and stuff, especially if my team's playing. Part of that like chip on my shoulder comes from like, I've literally been to Yankees games trying to rile up the crowd, trying to cheer really loud, trying to like, induce any measure of like animosity from these cool, nonchalant Yankee fans. And they could not give less of a shit about the Minnesota Twins. So they're kind of like, oh, Twins fans, oh, they exist. Oh, that's cute. And then, of course, they routinely clean our clock. So it's like, I guess they don't have to care about us because we can't seem to make them, respect us as a threat.
Do the same thing and put on the Red Sox jersey.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
You're going to get hurt.
Yeah, they have genuine animosity.
Yeah.
But the ironic thing is that like Twins fans, like I don't really feel any animosity toward anyone in the division. I guess the Guardians and the White Sox, if I had to choose teams that like I don't really like, but I really don't have any intense dislike for them. Twins fans have a weird like animosity against the Yankees because they whooped our ass in the playoffs like 13 games in a row or something. And then on top of that, like when the Twins almost got contracted because they had such a low payroll and the Yankees were like the Hideki Matsui, Alex Rodriguez Yankees, they had the complete opposite, huge payroll. So I think there was a little bit of that kind of almost like baseball class resentment as well. That goes
just most teams than the Yankees, because that payroll is ridiculous.
Right.
Leigh, let's get into your thread.
Cool.
Thread number 2.
Okay. It's a really short one, and it's from my Missouri homegirl Liz. It's just Liz Luck. Love Liz.
Yes,
and it's literally just says Tua, what the fuck? And she posted this shortly after he had his little press conference saying, and they asked him if he was going to wear that Guardian helmet, and he said no because of personal reasons.
So last week, who was the one that introduced the Aaron Rodgers thread?
2 weeks ago, Jesse.
That was you, Jesse?
Yeah,
and that was from Michelle, right?
I blacked out. I don't remember.
Okay, that was from Michelle.
Yeah.
And then today, Liz is coming at Tua. All right.
Yeah.
Take it away, Leigh.
So this is in response to Tua has been cleared to play again. And then the Guardian helmets are those new helmets that players are allowed to use in games. They are they're actually, I read up on them a little bit today. They are mandatory in practice with the exception of, I think, kickers, punchers, and quarterbacks. They don't have to wear them in practice. The common thing among them is teams don't want to wear them because they look funny, which... I mean, I'll give them that, but for the record, we watched the Bucks game last night, and there's a guy on there that had it on, and it has like it does like a little wrap around it with the Bucks like logo, and I'm not, like, I did notice it, but it really did not deter. Like, I wasn't like, what's that dude doing with a giant helmet on type of deal, and it's just like the evolution of safety in sports, like looking back, is people, I'm sure, I don't even think they wore helmets in hockey to begin with, and the original helmets in football, like everything evolves for safety, but And at the end of the day, yes, it is his choice to do whatever he wants. Like, I am not trying to say just because everyone says he wants, he should. However, I am not prepared to watch someone die on the football field. And I feel like we are dangerously close to witnessing that. And it feels like there's so much stuff that can at least mitigate or help prevent something like that. And the unwillingness to participate because of how it looks is disturbing to me. It is, it makes me feel like, it makes me not want to watch football anymore, outside of everything else that's I have issues with football. But I am from Texas. Like, I grew up with high school football. I grew up where I could hear the marching band practice, like, on, I could hear the band playing because I lived so close to the high school stadium. Friday Night Lights, it's not as rural, but I live that, and it's a part of me. Like, I love football. I love watching football. So it's a lot for me to say. Like, I really just I don't get it's the cringe. I get scared when people go down now. And after Jhamar Hamlin, and then also, to speaking of, if the next person that hits Tua, and let's say maybe he doesn't die, but like maybe he's paralyzed, something terrible happens, now have someone else that has, like, I can't imagine the guilt if you're the guy who hit him. And you know what I mean? Like, you're now adding, like, if you've ended someone's career, and like, that's always a risk in football. But when you're saying you're not willing to take extra safety measures to prevent that, like, I guess personally, I find that upsetting. And some of the stats have said that it reduces the overall impact by 10% when they wear them. And then also it's gone down. They said concussions have gone down 25% this year just from them being in practice, and then people who have been wearing them in games. So
that's much higher than I thought. I thought it was less effective. I thought it was a little bit more just kind of another thing that the league was like claiming that they were doing, but wasn't really like that effective. But if it's that noticeable, I don't know why they're not mandating them all the time, honestly.
Right.
So it's like, look cool or get CTE. That's the vibes right now.
Yeah. Like, in CTE is so sorry. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think, like, important context for anyone watching that didn't see the Tua injuries, like, those were really some of the most brutal concussions ever seen. Like, just in the sports.
Fingers was like,
the fencing was just disturbing, man.
It's upsetting.
It really is. It makes your stomach turn, and like, it's so wild and fucked up that the NFL has encoded so much like permissiveness around concussions in general. Like, they've just normalized that in a way that's really like lets you off the hook as a viewer, you know what I mean? Or doesn't make you kind of reckon with it from a moral, ethical standpoint. Because even from like the playoff, like, I'm not playoffs, but like when they're cutting to a commercial because of an injury, and they have that like sad minor, like, it's like, even then they have like this sad branding that they're like, this is our injury sensitive music. And that's like, if you really take a look back and like take a step back and kind of look at it from like the macro view, you're kind of like, that's a little fucked up. And there's a lot of things that like, it's really tough to watch. I mean, I am a football fan, and like I do kind of make that like ethical Faustian bargain where I'm like, I understand the risks here, and like I've seen those things that made my stomach turn. And I do think there is like some legitimacy to the idea that like people know the risks that they're getting involved in when they play those sports. But nonetheless, like, yeah, I think the league needs to be more on top of it, because really the only thing that like I thought of as a comp when you were speaking, Leigh, was like, I remember really vividly when Dale Earnhardt Sr., when he died, and then like NASCAR mandated the like 6-point harness or whatever for its drivers. And I'm not a big NASCAR guy, but I know that like what's his name, Senna or something from Formula One also was like a driver who died. So like I know that there are extreme sports that have like huge fan bases where the stakes are fatal, you know? And it's hard to know what the line is in terms of what is the league's responsibility for protecting these people, but especially something like the NFL, where by, you know, magnitudes, they have much more money than any other league in the world. It is a little dispiriting that they have not figured this out yet. Somebody had a great response in that thread that you posted, Leigh, that was like, if the helmets need a helmet, maybe the original helmet needs a redesign. And like, that was a banger. That was a very succinct way to put it.
Yeah, it just seems silly at this point. Like we have medical studies, we have people saying like this is going to happen, and you know, I don't understand it.
If you're gonna be like an arrogant, like kind of dumb toxic person about it, then like they should make you go out there in a leather helmet. Like you go all the way with your like brazen, stupid masculinity, you know, like if you really want to do the like tough guy bullshit, like
right.
I just think it's
silly.
Particularly with the gruesomeness of his injuries. I don't understand it. You also said earlier, like he said no, and he really said nope. It was like somebody else said that. Like there's a big difference between nope and no, and it was the attitude with which he delivered it was just kind of like,
yo, Tua is a kind of smaller guy, so like he gotta take it easy. I mean, he gotta
the last one he got, he was the one that went head first into it. Like, what are you doing?
Because he think this is high school football still.
I don't know.
You know what it is? I think the style of play changed everything, because the quarterbacks back in the day just stood in the pocket, they threw the ball away.
Yeah.
They didn't do too much. Now the style of play is like quarterbacks got to fight for first downs now. Yeah. They got to scramble out of the pocket. It's like
we have the same protection that the other players.
Well, and the other thing is like the like you look at the size of defenders now versus like the 70s and 80s. The size and the speed is just like
the speed
totally incomparable. Like somebody had made this point on a podcast the other day, but they were like, you know, it's funny and kind of fun to have the debates of like how well would Dick Butkus play in the league, but he'd get his ass kicked. He wouldn't even be on like he wouldn't have a starting role on a team, because these like linebackers in the 70s were like ripping bones on the sideline. Like they were smoking cigarettes and drinking beer in the locker rooms. It was like a totally different era of athletics. And now like the NFL defenses, and especially some of those defenders, are big men, and they're like, you know, 280, 6'3", 6'4", and they can run a 4.3 40. So it's like, that's just the physics of it is just a completely different like danger compared to what the sport was in the 70s and the 80s.
Speaking of CTESPN, which is his brand, did y'all see Antonio Brown giving a speech for at the Trump rally?
No, I have kind of tried to create a mental filter that if I see his name, I just scroll immediately.
Bro, he gave a speech at the Trump rally, bro. I was just so fascinated. Like, look at Antonio Brown, bro. I was just like, look at this guy giving a speech.
That's what all that he wants is for people to look at him.
Yo, I was like, I was just mind blown, bro. That was so funny. I was like, yo, this like,
I didn't even know that happened. That's crazy.
Yes, it was a rally. He was at the podium, and I was just like, holy smokes, yo.
It's honestly like, I mean, everything is a condemnation of Trump, but it's kind of disturbing how many like CTE addled like former football players he's picked up. Like he's the official candidate of CTE.
I never thought of it that way, but that's a very good point.
I mean, it's true though. It's like that he was courting. What was it? Who was the other one that Herschel Walker?
Oh gosh, yes.
Oh my god.
That's a whole
Herschel Walker, Bane of Minnesota. Fuck.
Oh. All right, Jesse, we have one more thread, my friend.
Okay.
It's on you.
that was a pretty heavy topic.
Yeah.
But Leigh, I really appreciated your words on it and your thoughts on it, especially like that part of you coming from Texas. Like, just that introspection was really nice to hear. So thank you for sharing that one. All right, so my final thread, take us to a little bit of a lighter space, or just like a space where I think like we, as maybe a representatives of a elder generation, can
Elder millennial.
we can retaliate against some of the vitriol we've heard online.
Don't speak for me, bro.
I won't, but
right.
I'm hoping you'll join in on kind of my thoughts on this. The thread comes from an account, Corley X Official. I think this is a band. I don't know for sure, but the thread says, I like it when Gen Z will be like, I invented a new genre of music called cyber jazz, and it's literally 2009 trip hop, but they weren't there and have no idea. It's very, very cute, and I'm not being sarcastic. And I just love this because I think this is the right like tone to take, because I do see a lot of content specifically coming from Gen Z folks trying to kind of like rage bait millennials and trying to tell us that like our fashion is shitty and like our music is shitty and like our celebrities are dumb and, you know, kind of trying to displace us. And I just like, I'm like, that's cute, man. Like you're wearing like jeans that I wore in middle school. That's cool. Like I already did that. That's cool. And I think it's really interesting now because you see Gen Alpha coming up and they're starting to have like influence on trends and purchasing power and stuff. And I think Gen Z is going to go through this kind of, this ennui of being like, oh, wait, we're not the like cool young kids anymore. And I think millennials, especially elder millennials, we've kind of just come out of the tail end of that and been like, okay. Like I like being in my mid to late 30s and like being more comfortable with myself and not obsessing over, trying to be young and cool anymore. But I also think that this is startlingly accurate because this really, to me, speaks to like TikTok in general. Like whether it's like coining a new phrase for something that's a well-explained phenomenon and didn't need a new phrase, or specifically music. Yeah, you hear it all the time and you're like, no, that was like shoegaze, or that was like, that was trip hop. And trip hop especially, like, it's cool that those sounds have a resurgence. But yeah, like I kind of come from it like, I was always a kid who I didn't like, I was a kid in the 90s when I was like growing up and like starting to have musical tastes. It was more like the early 2000s, but I went back and I listened to like, monumental 90s albums of all different genres. So I felt like kind of like very much drawn into trying to understand like the records that had kind of like evolved into what was popular during my day. Like I felt, especially in hip hop, like tracing that lineage was part of the fun. So there's no gatekeeping thing here. Like I think like folks should call their music whatever they want, and if it describes the way that their sound is, that's cool, that's awesome. But I also think it's like, it's not a diss to be told, oh, sounds like Portishead, or this is like cool, it reminds me of the Avalanches or whatever. Like that's a cool thing. Like go peep those records too. Like that was just because they're of a previous generation. I think there's still like a lot of merit to it personally.
I got a lot of thoughts on this.
Go off.
So, and they're positive. I mean, and the initial thing is that fashion, music, it's all cyclical, right? And we all experienced that growing up. Like, yeah, we were like, oh man, like the music we listen to is the newest and the coolest. And like, that's like, teen. And then you get older. And I listened to a lot of old music growing up because we were in the car so much going to activities. My mom, we had to listen to what she wanted. And that was like 50s, 60s, and 70s music, which I still love. But this happened to me recently, right? With Chapel Roan. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, and I love her music. Every song I've heard from her, I think is great.
That's what this is great because the kids are really into her, and it's I finally gave it like a solid listen. I'm like, this is heavy 80s like synth. Like
Totally.
this is 80s music. And I didn't feel a necessarily a need to be. I was like, oh, this is why so many people my age like this
Yeah.
music is because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a modification of the music we already know, the sounds we already know, and but no part of me felt like, oh, da, da, da. In fact, John, like I pointed out to John, and he was talking to our 11-year-old, and he pointed out like that this is heavily like influenced by 80s music. And then as the alternative is he introduced her to on Sirius like 80s on 8, like like here are some old songs from the 80s that you will probably like because it's a very similar take.
Yeah, the
And
production style.
right, so that was really cool, like a reverse moment of that.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I'll speak for myself because this elder millennial, like we're such a unique thing with like the pre-internet and the post-internet life. We were a very unique little niche group in there. But all that to be said, like the okay boomer, like the way that like they the way that they look down on us, generalizing,
Yeah.
but like, or like, like you can, I did this, you can do it, blah, blah, blah. Like I have never felt that way toward younger generations. In fact, I'm
No.
usually more sympathetic because I'm like, dude, it sucks. It's so hard. Like it's hard for me right now. Like I can't imagine now coming out of college into this, what you're doing. And like, I'm always trying to be like, dude, I don't get what you're doing, but I also don't care. Like you do, you know what I mean? There's no part of me that's saying, rah, 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 you know what I mean? Like the two, like the when John pointed out, like the all is it Gen Z wearing like they wear like the tube or the crew socks,
Crew
like
socks.
the
Yeah, they
collar
got mad
socks,
about
yeah.
no-show socks.
And we all wear the ankle socks.
Yeah.
Like, people start aging. I'm like, and I'm going to keep wearing my ankle socks because I don't want to try to be like them. And I'm
right
for them that they don't want to be like us. Like,
yeah. Well, and it's like
it's
not like I didn't know crew socks existed. I could have had that look if I wanted. I was fine with it,
So
what do you think, Jhamar? Oh, sorry, Leigh, finish.
No, yeah, that's the gist of it. But yeah, go ahead.
Yo, my take is these Gen Z people, whoever they are, they get their influence from somewhere. And who do you think they got their influence from? The really cool millennials.
Yeah.
Like I'm being so serious. Even when you mentioned them socks, like I was wearing those socks.
Yeah.
I was wearing those socks.
It's cool. Like Jhamar, because I feel like you do genuinely, like your style translates the most of us three to like a very Gen Z style. And it feels like that is like actual clothes from your cultural reference points growing up. Like it's not
bro.
in any sort of like way cribbing
Jesse,
the style of the Gen Z.
I was a skateboarder.
Yeah.
I had a lit ring. I was online since I was 10.
Yeah.
I played basketball. I make music. It's like these kids are not kids at this point. These young adults or these young people are literally like doing what I did my entire life.
Totally.
So when I see them, and I see it as like they're coming at a very specific type of millennial.
Yeah.
They're coming at the millennials that are trying to be like their parents. Because I feel like millennials are like split. I feel like half of millennials are like on some like kind of cool, like they're like the cool millennials. Then there's other half that are like, I need to do what my parents did, and they're so serious. Yeah. So I think they are coming at those, I don't know, those millennials that's like really, really serious. Because I know for a fact they not coming at me. I seen a 10-year-old, and I seen how he was dressing. I'm like, yo, you dress like me, bro. Like you are literally dressed like how, like you're dressed like me. So it's like I'm not letting these kids trick me out of like how I live my life.
No. But it's interesting because I think you hit on it, and Leigh, you were kind of talking about this too. I think that it's like it's gatekeeper energy can be reciprocated either way, like either from an elder generation or a younger generation. Both can gatekeep each other, and that's where I think it's like that's the stuff that turns me off. And like the cool people just generally don't care, and like there is that cultural exchange that you talked about in your example with JJ Leigh, where it's like, hey, let me show you this record, and then they're like, oh yeah, I like that record too, that's cool. And then that's how you get cool like linkage through generations. but it's like there are folks who are gatekeepy at every level, at every generation, and want to be like, no, let me tell you what's what. Either let me tell you how you need to grow up, or let me tell you how you're not cool and you're old anymore. And that's fine, but it's also spurred along by like a very like clickbait infrastructure of media, you know, because that's always where I like see it, is on social media, where it'll be like, oh, they're making fun of the millennial pause now, or they're saying like that's an example of millennial humor and Gen Z doesn't find it funny. I'm like, okay.
There was one that says like reaction gifs are so millennial, and like it was a whole thread of just
Yeah.
reaction gifs. Like
Yeah.
everyone was just like, don't care. Dude, here's
Right.
my
That's the
reaction
thing.
gift.
Like they can't mess with like. That's the thing, man. It's like we are the original trolls. No
Yeah.
one's going to out troll us.
That is
Like,
actually true.
you
We
know
are
what I
the
mean?
original
It's like,
trolls.
come on, don't play with us. Like we got
Yeah.
time. Like we love y'all, but also it's just like, yo, relax. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we were the last generation to try to do something new. Everything else from going forward, I think it's just going to be some type of remix of something that already exists. Like,
Totally.
like we like it was that period from like probably like 2002 to like 2013. It was just madness, bro. It was
The
just
early
a bunch.
2000s were just
That's when like
It was
bizarre.
weird.
They
It
were
was
I think
weird
that's
as
when
hell.
that's when the toothpaste came out of the tube, as far as the internet goes. You know, like that exact era, Jhamar. And to me, that's like specifically what splintered the notion of a monoculture anyway.
right.
And so that was like when we went from like, oh, okay, there's like a large monoculture of TV and movies and these things that give us water cooler moments in pop culture, to like once the internet exploded, it was just like all these different subcultures, and it was more of like a spherical thing than like a flat 2D thing. So there's always going to be spheres of influence that appreciate trip hop, but maybe under a new name, but they appreciate this fashion, but under a new name or a new understanding. Like you said, it's a remix or an evolution. But in some respects, I think it's like that also existed in the monoculture times, and specifically like hip hop was kind of like a early, almost like harbinger of that. I guess harbinger is like more of a negative connotation, but it kind of like was prescient in that manner because of sampling. It was like re-synthesizing a lot of soul sounds, a lot of old sounds, and a lot of repurposed sounds from all these different genres of music, and then like kind of creating this.
Jesse, no, I can't allow you to do that to hip hop, because at least it was like it felt new, it looked new, it was like the words mixed on a sample. It was just something totally new.
Oh, I think I'm saying it is new. It was a totally new creation. Like that was my first job was working at audio engineering school, and I did these short documentaries around sample-based musicians and how I thought it was unfair and racist that there were these draconian sample laws where hip-hop producers didn't get paid because they had to pay the sample rights to like 70s rock groups. I thought that's fucked up because they're creating something totally different. There's like a subversive act in repurposing something, and you can tell the difference when it's a straight ripoff versus something like more creative, like a Prince Paul or like a Pete Rock type of sample flip, you know?
I'm not even trying to come at Gen Z right now, but like, what have they done? Like, what's their big thing besides like?
I'm not trying to come at Gen Z, but what?
No, I'm not. I'm so serious. Like, I swear I love them. Like, because I did see one of the Parkland shooter teens. I did see him on Bill Maher. He's 24 years old, well spoken.
Is it David Hogg, or is that?
I think so. It's the white dude.
Yeah.
Well spoken, went to Harvard. He helped someone on a Senate campaign. Like he was like I don't know. Like I looked at him, 24 years old. I'm like, oh wow. Like he seems like a really like cool and smart dude. But it's like, what have they done? Like we can say whatever we want about Mark Zuckerberg. He was 19, making like just building new products out there. Like, what have they done besides sports?
Well,
in sports, they're always
content
going to
generation? Are they just like because they were always online? I've always felt like millennials in my mind, I don't know why this is the term, but I feel like we're almost like daywalkers, like the half vampires, half humans, where it's like, I feel like because we have a distinct experience of having lived in an offline world in our childhoods. And then, of course, we witnessed like the birth and the evolution of it. But we remember a social structure and we remember a world prior to the internet and prior to that, like splintering of the monoculture that like you kind of put the era around Jhamar at like 2002 to 2010 or whatever. So us like daywalker millennial types, like I think there's a pretty big distinction in like growing up always online, and I think that's kind of rooted in some of the Gen Z's like critiques of millennials, is that like we treat online as a performative space, whereas they're like, this is just who I am because this is like the media infrastructure in
They
which I
exist online.
Exactly.
Bro, I've been online since I was 10. I was the first one on every social platform. I understand what they mean when they say show up as your true self
Right.
online. My point is that there was a segment of us doing that. Everything that they're doing, there was a segment of us being called weird.
Totally.
We got called weird for every single thing they're doing now.
Yeah.
Every single thing that's cool to them now, there was a segment of us that went for it and we got made fun of. So that's all I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say they should show more homage to the real OGs out there.
Yeah.
Instead of attacking us, just say, you know what, millennials, 2% of y'all are cool. The rest of 98% of y'all.
I think that comes when you hit like late 20s, 30s. Like
that's true.
It's
gatekeeper energy.
It's just like honestly, and it's just like brain development too. Like there's actual just science behind like pushing that away, like finding your identity, and then you kind of start getting there, and then you realize, oh, they're not so bad.
Yeah, and maybe it's like we're talking about. Maybe it's like Gen Alpha's displacing them is going to be like the empathetic key for them to be like, oh, you know what? Like we're more like with millennials than we previously thought, or like now we get it. We get where y'all were coming from.
Like remember when everyone was like millennials, and now they're like millennials are old.
Well, because I do think it takes that. Like it is humbling in some respects, even if you don't care and even if you don't buy into it. It is like humbling generationally to be displaced from like the generation that dictates taste and dictates like culture and the way culture moves. So like it is humbling in those senses of like you start hearing music that you don't recognize anymore. Like the cool popular show isn't with featuring any like actors or actresses that you know and track, and like the things that you clock are like not necessarily part of the mainstream anymore.
Nah, them listen, man, I love y'all Gen Zers, but y'all know what's up, bro. If you get me in the room with them Gen Zers, like the energy is just too, I got too much wisdom for them, bro. I got too much wisdom for these youthful.
They're not ready for it yet.
I got too much wisdom, man. It's too much sense coming from me and to all this experience that they could try their hardest to be their little trolls. They not messing with us, man. They not messing with us. But we need to go into the next segment. All right. And look, after you finish this thought, we're going to go into the would you rather.
Them being the content generation, and it's interesting to me that we all kind of have like social spaces that we generations do tend to flock to a little bit more, and there's obviously overlap, but like Gen Z really is like more of a TikTok and like Snapchat generation. We are more of like an Instagram, and I would even say we've left Facebook behind because the boomers were like, we need something. We're like, yeah, you take Facebook. So we got the like Instagram, but it's fascinating the way that that'll shape like specific creative skills. Like I see so many Gen Zers, especially in the line of like work that I'm in, where I'm like, these kids are fucking incredible editors in terms of like special effects and like graphic overlays and just like transitions and shit that like boggles my mind because I don't know where to access those resources.
Oh, yeah, iMovie, bro.
But that's what I'm saying. So the interesting thing to me, I learned to edit on a VHS tower, tape to tape. And so where I see them, like they can kick my ass with all this wizardry, but where they lack is like narrative editing. Like they don't have the sense. And I'd be really interested, like Bones' perspective on this actually, because I think that's what I noticed with the Gen Z is like you still have to kind of like school them on like the narrative edit, because the
Fundamentals.
technical pieces of it are incredible and they look great, but there is a sense sometimes
You're
of
saying
like,
that they don't have no soul. That's what you're trying to say, but we can skip that. We can save that for
yeah.
later. That's what you're trying to say. You're trying to
little
say
bit.
in your Jesse way. I know
A
what you're
little
trying to
bit,
say.
yeah.
All right, let's get to the Would You Rather.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
What's
Leigh,
the
this
reason?
one's yours.
Okay.
Please.
Sorry, I gotta pull it up real quick. Okay, here we go. Would you rather lose the ability to lie or believe everything you're told?
I'm going last.
Okay.
Jesse,
You're going
go.
last.
Jesse, go
So I gotta go first. Would I rather lose my ability to lie or believe everything I'm told? But so if I believe everything I'm told, I can still lie.
This guy is always looking for the loophole, bro.
Correct.
Every single
It's
time.
you're the one who's opting out to sing.
Right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think like I hate to say this, but like
Don't do
I
it, Jesse.
work in advertising. I need my ability to lie. Like I need it.
Wow.
But because it's always, and I don't know, I think lie is such like a broad term, right?
No, it's
like,
not. No, it's
well,
not,
it's like
bro.
liar showed us that it's a broad term. There's like, big
Some
broad
things people
lies.
don't need to hear.
Yeah,
That's not true, though.
I think that
that's
there
when
are.
you sketchy. When you sketchy or you judge people, it's like, no, let's withhold information. If you're secure with yourself and you like, you know what, the chips gonna fall wherever they gonna fall, you gonna let it rip. But I am learning that there's a time and place to share information.
I live my life, and you both know this. I let it rip. I feel like I'm a very forthcoming person in pretty much all respects. But I think like the way I look at it, or the way I kind of categorize it in my mind, is like lie is obviously still a very loaded term, but there are some times where maybe a lie can preserve a peace, or a lie can preserve a where like telling the truth would only be incendiary, like that I think is a true thing. And I also think that like not every lie is necessarily dishonest for that reason. So what I really bristle at is like dishonesty, right? It's like, because you can maybe tell a lie, but your intentions were good. Again, like, oh, I really like the food you prepared for me, but maybe you didn't, but it's an act of politeness that is a lie, but it's not.
No.
I don't know. I personally, maybe that's the Midwestern in me.
Listen,
the politeness.
man.
Are you going out or are you going last?
Leigh, I'm not going out. I just thought of something. Just because you said everyone doesn't need to know anything, you could say, okay, I don't want to tell you. There's ways that you can communicate something without lying.
Yes, but there's that the subtext tells you everything. Like you can say, I don't want to tell you. Like a non-answer can be just as damaging as a true answer. Like that. So there are instances.
But then at least you didn't lie. Lying is like the lowest form of energy there is out there.
I think there's gradations. I think there's gradations to it, because I agree that there, like, lying can be very low energy,
Why are you out there tricking people,
but like
bro?
I said, no, if somebody made me like mediocre chicken or whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, it's good. Like,
no,
I'm not.
That's effed
I am
up,
not.
Bro. How are they going to get better? How are they going to improve their chicken making?
I don't think that they're necessarily aspiring to get better. They're not necessarily aspiring to cook,
Yeah, that's why you should be honest and say, no, I don't like this chicken.
This chicken is fucking shit.
I ain't say that.
Let me tell you, I am for the most part a truth teller. Like, I keep it real.
Yeah.
And people don't like that.
Like, yeah, it can be very abrasive.
You're missing the other half of this and what people want to hear. And they don't like when you tell them the truth. They don't like when you're honest.
I'm not saying you have to tell them the truth. You just
think about when you go to a store, you're having a bad day. Someone says, how you doing? You can't lie. You be like, man, I'm having a shit day. This XYZ happened. If you're working in that store, you're having a long day, I don't want to hear that. So like
Yeah.
there's so many opportunities. There's so many times a day that people lie, right? And it's
Yeah.
just like those things. How are you doing? I'm doing great because I want to get this transaction over and I want to leave. And I know you don't actually want to talk to me either. And I'm going to back this up with children. You cannot have children and not be able to lie to them. Like
I'm not lying to no children. Nope.
Well, here's the other thing that I think is
They
interesting
say-
though about the query. Like what sometimes you didn't even lie, information changed or realities changed, you know?
Then
I
be
told my
honest
son-
about that.
Well, so here's an example. This very night I said, Harrison, yeah, you can have an oatmeal cream pie for dinner or for dessert rather. And he was like, oh yeah, great. We went to the cupboard and there was no oatmeal cream pie. So like in his eyes, he reacts initially like I lied. I didn't lie. I just didn't know that we didn't have any oatmeal cream pies left. But it was
Come on.
it
You
was
know
not
that's
true.
Not a lie. The lie is all about the intent, bro. You know this. You know this, Jesse. You know lie is all about the intent. Not lying is not about you and not having information.
I think you have a good point there. I think
yeah, you know this. Jesse, you trying to get out of this. Lying is tricking someone. Why would you like? Why?
I don't know. I don't agree that it's always
like,
tricking someone.
It's not tricking anyone. Like it's not affecting their day. If you say I'm having a good day when you are, that's not tricking.
I agree.
But you don't know that.
We're not.
All I'm trying to say is
I
that
worked in retail a long time.
But okay, so Jhamar, I agree with you. Intent matters, but that's what I'm saying. I think there can be lies
there
with
are malicious lies.
good intent, like Leigh is saying when I say, "Oh, I'm doing good," or "I like this food," even if I really don't like it, or "Yeah, that outfit looks great." You know, you may not be shaping them, Jhamar, like you're saying, or challenging them, but also maybe it's not your place to. And so the intent is like, because sometimes it's about reading their intent, and sometimes people just are, like Leigh's saying, fishing for a compliment or looking to be validated in a way.
Do that
like,
do that with somebody else.
Allows.
Don't do that with me. Don't play games with me. When I talk to people, I want to connect with people on a real direct way. Like, let me know your authentic vibes. I share my authentic vibes with you. The world would be a better place if we all did that.
I agree. But here's my pushback on that. That is my preference. That is the energy I want to move with. And so when I'm in spaces and in places where I want to spend the majority of my time, like this room, I think we've all acknowledged this collective of people is very open with ourselves, is very open with our opinions. We all do value the truth and value being genuine. In certain shared spaces where it's not about me and I'm not the center, sometimes that's where like going along with it or lying in some capacities is like social lubrication to people feeling validated or whatever.
All right. We have 2 minutes. You're a freak, man. Listen, we have 2 minutes and I'm going to end this very, very awkwardly. I have a question for both of you really quick and you can answer really fast. Do you think white people are more prone to lying than black people? Because my contention is that when you grow up, and I'm speaking from experience, when you grow up in these tough environments, it's like your reputation is all you have. So if someone like knows that you're a liar, it's like then you're not trustworthy. Then that's a whole other can of worms. So a lot of times we grow up with just like be direct, don't matter about lying, and just trust that your vibes are just valid during that situation and you're not going to get hurt. But when I hear you talk about, you can't hurt nobody's feelings, you got to be nice, I'm wondering if that's a white thing, because I didn't grow up in a world where being nice was more important than being truthful. So I want to hear from you two.
I think
I get that
crossover of probably race and geographic location, like South, Midwest, like a city, New York City too.
So they be lying more in the South and other places.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like Southern charm. It's so based on like that, like it's a little.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So it's, I think, because it probably, I'm sure there is a racial aspect to it too, because. And what you pointed out, Jhamar, is like being straight and not lying. Like that goes, I'm sure, to like especially when it comes to the law. Like, and I'm speaking off of what people have told me about. Like, you know, if you're when there's a group of white and black people and cops show up, like, you know, it's like you don't fuck around with that shit, you know, like whereas like maybe a more privileged white kid would just start fucking running his mouth and making up shit, and you know, it's easier for them to do that. So
yeah, and listen, like there is, I think you totally nailed it, Jhamar, in that like I do think it is encoded in the white experience much more, because it probably at the end of the day does tie back to certain like preservations of the status quo, which I think is like can spiral in really insidious ways. Like I was just at the Salem Witches Museum with Harrison. We took a trip up there. It's wild. And like the shit that like that really shows you like how dangerous like lies can be. Whereas like they you know, they fucking burn people alive and they imprison people and let them starve to death because, you know, white girls were lying. Like they were being like speaking in tongues, and it was almost like a proto like meme where they all started copying each other, and then none of them would confess. And then like after a bunch of fucking people died, then it came out, oh, we were lying, you know? And certainly that was the case with Emmett Till too. So it's like there are certainly elements of that where you see how dangerous that is. I do think that there's a very valid critique that like lying as a whole can be tied to white supremacy and can be tied to the perpetuation of the status quo. Yeah. I think that the type of lying that me and Leigh are talking about is maybe tethered to that in some very distant way, but is far more innocuous because it's more about just the getting by of like hey, yeah, I'm having a good day and I have to have this interaction with the cashier and I'm not going to be my full authentic self in this particular exchange because we both need to just get on with our lives.
See, man, this is simple philosophy. I think it's just like, how do you feel your life is better spent? Is it better spent lying so you can find opportunities, or is it better spent sharing your truth? Because I truly believe truth is love. I truly, in my heart, I believe if you share the truth with someone, no matter how harsh it may appear, if you give them the truth, that's the only way they can improve whatever it is they're working on.
But
I know we got to go because Bone is going to say, yeah, I got a episode that's 1 hour and 60
I know,
seconds.
but this is, first of all, Leigh didn't get to answer. Jhamar didn't get to answer. We have a thing. But give me like a 30-second response on this, Jhamar, because I think this is so important. And my counter to you, as a self-proclaimed troll, what's the distinction in your mind between a troll and a lie?
No, a troll for me is doing something you don't want to do to get a certain result. So it's not necessarily a lie. It's you're doing an action to get a certain result.
You get where I'm going with this.
No, I don't get you. No,
if I'm saying yes, I had a good day, or yes, your chicken was good, I get a certain result.
But there are trolls that lie and there are trolls that tell the truth. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I think it's so. Playing in the same space.
Now it's not playing in the same space because trolling is simply doing something you don't want to do, which is an action. It's not like giving someone the wrong content. It's like, right? Because an action is like saying something that you don't mean, which is not a lie. I don't know.
What a lie is. Saying something that you don't mean is a lie.
Not saying something you don't mean. It's doing something. It's doing something you don't want to do. No. Saying something you don't. No.
Because let me ask you this.
Bone, cut that, Bone. Don't put that in here, bro.
Bone, lead with it. We wanted spice.
Don't put that in there.
This is a spice sandwich of an episode.
All right, so I think I need to sing a song because I'm really gullible. I have trauma with like people telling me things and me believing them. So I'm not even trying to speak either one of those things into existence.
It's not a great alternative. Like just to preserve my power of lying. It sucks that to be so like, oh, I just believe everything you tell me.
I'd probably be a lot happier.
Not a great alternative.
Ignorance is bliss. That's
I know. It has a lot less anxiety.
Maybe I should just do that. Yeah, just lean into it. But you can lie because you're blissful in your ignorance, and you can lie. Yeah. Okay, so Jhamar, you'll sing briefly, but Leigh, what's your take on the matter here? It seems like you and I were kind of aligned on this one.
There's no way, like, and I'm specifically speaking to the same type of things, like those little interactions you have, or when your child asks you something and you got to get out the door, you tell them whatever you need to tell them to get them out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and look at Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
I've written letters from the Tooth Fairy, man.
Yeah, you want to be up all night with a crying kid, and then they go tell some other kid, and some parents calling you because they ruined Santa for them. Like, that's what happens when you tell the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I get the appeal. I did go back and forth on that as to whether I just wanted to like dispel the notion early on, but I
guess trolling is lying, huh?
I think he came around.
Yeah, trolling is lying now. Think about it.
I think so.
I guess so.
I gotta stop trolling. I don't be lying though. I just
think
a little razzle dazzle.
Going around to what we're saying is that maybe that we just
okay. So it's acting lying.
It's circle. We are Gen Z, and we've come up with the new lying, and we've called it trolling. And really, it's just trip hop from 2009.
That's true. That's true. But is acting lying? And I know we need to go, Bone, but is acting lying?
I mean, I don't think so, but
or
I'm
like
sure
entertainment, no? Like
people can come up with a compelling argument that it is.
That's what I'm trying to say, man. That's trolling.
Performance is a lie in some ways,
but,
you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Does the audience know? If you know it, then I don't think it's a lie. Like,
but I don't think they know.
Contract. It's like kayfabe or whatever, right? Yeah. There's like the kind of this like mutually agreed upon. We are establishing a performance unto itself, and we all have roles in that. But there's a lot of blurring of that line with social media, especially too. So,
all right, Jesse, you have an impression for us?
All right, I'm gonna try to do.
Diamond really Joe. Before I would like to give, I mentioned at the top of the thing, a shout out to the Liberty for giving us and the Links for giving us a great.
It was an amazing series. It was so great.
Rolled right. It was beautiful. I loved it. It was great for everyone. That's it.
Yeah, that's good.
Well put. A great note of honesty to end on. Before I take us into this closer, from notorious liar from The Simpsons, Diamond Joe Quimby, the mayor. I believe that unThreaded is the best podcast and you should watch it. And if you haven't watched it yet, I sign off on it as Diamond Joe Quimby. This is my formal guarantee that this is the greatest podcast ever created. Thank you for tuning in. Vote Quimby.
That's some hardcore JFK almost.
That's what
I think he's based on that.
Probably.
But that's all like the JFK voice we hear in our head is actually comedian Shecky Green. So it's a lie. It's all a lie.
All a lie.
It's all a lie.
Nice. Yo, welcome. Not welcome, well. Peace, people.
Adios.
Peace. We're done. Episode 9 is done. Episode 10 coming soon. Sayonara.
Jhamar, did you actually answer the Would You Rather?
He kind of came around.
I'm gonna sing. I think I gotta sing. I can sing a song. You ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Sweet Home Alabama. Welcome to the place of free. Sweet Home Alabama. It could be me or it could be we.
That was great. I love the free interpretation.
You did like the Gen Z. You made it new again.
Yeah,
I don't know that song, yo. I don't know that song.
Leonard Skinner.
I don't know those people.
With that.
All right, y'all. We out here. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace.